Everyone may be entitled to their own opinion, but that doesn't mean that every opinion deserves respect. It doesn't mean that all opinions are equal, and it definitely doesn't mean that they all share the same level of credibility. Some beliefs are better than others. You are allowed to believe that vaccines cause autism, but you can't give medical advice to the public if you do. You are allowed to believe the Earth is flat, but I'm not gonna trust you to fly a rocket into orbit. We need to start seriously considering what's more important for our society. Respect for others' beliefs, or preventing the harm these beliefs cause to other people, as well as our democracy. Like many people in Gen Z, I grew up watching YouTube instead of TV. I remember having the first iPod when the YouTube icon looked like this instead of what it looks like now, and I often have contemplated how exactly I got interested in educational content instead of going down the typical route of cat videos and America's Funniest Home Videos. But honestly, I don't know why I preferred one over the other. It probably has something to do with the fact that the internet now is run by algorithms that feed you content that's more engaging instead of you having to actually seek out the content you're looking for. But no matter what the answer actually is, I was obsessed with watching Vsauce trick me into learning something new, minute physics explain time dilation from relativity, Numberphile geek out about some new mathematical breakthrough, Veritasium inspiring me with science history and amazing experiments I had never seen before, and even catching whatever TED Talks I found to be interesting. This obviously led me down the rabbit holes of Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan and Bill Nye and even some Crash Course videos, but I was absolutely obsessed with learning everything I possibly could. Science communicators filled my feed, and all I wanted to do was know more. I was never satisfied. I came away with a genuine awe for the scientific community and everything it represented. I have carried that intellectual fervor ever since. I mention all of this because it's genuinely surprising to me how we as a nation have decided that dedicating your entire life to the study of a subject, using science to better understand the world around us and try to improve the lives of everyone they can, is seen as a net negative, that there is some grand design in this profession to hurt others, to belittle people, to be condescending, and laugh at all the stupid people who are less than them. This is not the case. The title of this video was purposefully aggressive and inflammatory, as I hope to undo the negative stereotypes that the intelligentsia have inserted into these phrases. Stupid, dumb, ignorant, uninformed. All of these words are typically used as pejoratives, and I think that that shouldn't be the case. We don't have to see this as a negative thing to be uninformed, stupid, or dumb. If I may stand on the shoulders of giants for just a moment, I would like to use an example that Carl Sagan uses in one of his books to try to explain just how minuscule our time on this planet is. If you were to represent the entire history of the universe as a 365-day calendar, each day would represent 37.8 million years. At this scale, dinosaurs aren't even around until Christmas. Primates don't show up until December 30th at 6:24 in the morning. Humans don't get added to this picture until December 31st at 11:52 p.m., meaning the entire history of human existence fits into the last 8 minutes of the last day and the last month of the year. How much of that 8 minutes is considered our history, civilized humanity? In the last 30 seconds, we narrowly escape the last ice age. With 13 seconds remaining, we construct Stonehenge. With just 5 seconds left in the year, we have Jesus of Nazareth preaching in Jerusalem. And in the last second of that year, we have the last 500 years of human history. The collective knowledge of humanity cannot hope to fit inside of a single mind, but a single mind can hold a lot of information about a single topic. And luckily for humanity, we have about 8 billion minds to distribute this knowledge between. In the modern age, we have computers that can store a vast amount of this information so we can specialize further still. So being dumb or ignorant or uninformed is completely unavoidable. It's impossible to be informed on every single topic. There are things that none of us know. There are things a lot of us could never know, nor should ever really spend the time to learn, because there's just not enough time in the day to learn everything about everything. The world's greatest physicist probably has no idea how to do open heart surgery. The world's greatest neurosurgeon probably cannot pick out what a tonic or dominant chord is, and the world's greatest musician probably can't fix their car outside of changing a tire or an oil change. You should embrace this ignorance that we have. It gives us an opportunity to learn. It shows that we still have areas that we don't know, that it's outside of our areas of expertise, and we can allow others to fill in the gap. That's, as a society, how we hold all of this information. We let others pick up the slack that we can't hope to pull ourselves. We need to appreciate the people that do have the relevant knowledge in these fields. It's important to recognize that this doesn't make you any lesser of a person for not knowing something about these things. You don't have to. It's also important to note that even when you are extensively educated about a single topic, there's always someone who knows more than you, or might have some insight to offer, or think of things in a new way. Letting this concept of knowing more or being an expert get to your head and inflate your ego can be your downfall. No one will want to learn from you, and more importantly, no one will want to help you learn if you act this way. It just means you're an asshole. I do not want this idea of deference to people who know more than you to be considered as an excuse for allowing arrogance or abuse from people who are more educated. I don't think this is a good thing. What I do believe is that everyone should have this drive to learn from others and discover more about themselves and the world around us. To be willing to be wrong and to be uneducated so that we can be brought closer to the truth. So how does all of this talk about knowledge and understanding connect to opinions that I started talking about at the beginning of this video? Well, our opinions are built off of the well of knowledge that we currently have. It's the thoughts that we extend beyond our current well of knowledge and understanding and experiences and reach further than what we currently know. We take everything that we have access to and we construct a new thought that typically reflects our personal interpretation of those facts and knowledge. That interpretation is then filtered through our experiences, our emotions, our upbringing, our genetic predispositions, and even what side of the bed we woke up on this morning. No one is immune to that. But that doesn't mean we can't hone our well of knowledge that we pull from in order to get as close to the truth as humanly possible. The more information we have, the better our well of knowledge, the more likely our opinions will be closer to the truth. We might be just as susceptible as everyone else to emotional bias, but we can be more confident in our opinions. If you want more of my thoughts on bias and how exactly it relates to truth, you should check out my video on media bias. The link is in the description. But why am I, a political content creator, talking about all of this truth and opinion nonsense? What am I on about? Political opinions are completely different than all other categories of opinions. They have a weight behind them like no other. They aren't floating in a void without impact or consequence. They have real effects on other people. Politics at its core is all about power and exercising power over other people. Typically, we do it for the good and the betterment of society. We enter a contract with other people saying that if you give up some of your rights, if you allow this body to have power over you, it will provide a system that makes your life better on the aggregate than it ever could be by itself. Politics is about gathering that societal power that we use to create those systems. The unfortunate consequence from all of this is that this power can be abused at the detriment of the people that it's supposed to protect. Your political opinions, therefore, have an implicit goal attached to them. You either want other people to share that opinion, or have that opinion forced upon them. And this isn't always a bad thing. I know it sounds bad when you say it like that, but think about this in terms of murder. Obviously, we as a society have decided that we force the opinion onto everyone that murder is wrong. If you disagree with that and you try to act upon it, then you are restricted from doing so. We lock you up. You're no longer allowed to participate in society. But what results from understanding politics and opinions about politics this way is that you cannot hide behind the defense of you need to respect other people's opinions when talking about politics, because that betrays the very goal that politics aims to achieve. It's contradictory to the very ends of political opinion. When you say you believe in a certain type of politics, what you're saying is, I want society to be run this way. I want other people to have to follow this policy. I want other people's lives to be impacted by this opinion. When you say things like, I think abortion should be illegal, you're saying, I want to take away people's ability to get abortions. Whether or not you think that's a good or bad thing, that is the government intruding on someone's life and intruding on their decisions. So when you say the opinion abortion is wrong, specifically in the context of talking about politics, then you cannot hide behind the idea that we're supposed to just respect that. If people disagree with you, then they're going to push back against your opinion. That's not persecution, that's not oppression, that's the democratic system and freedom of speech working exactly how it should. When we have conversations about sports or music or any other hobby, it's just an extension of your personality. It's a reflection of how you feel and who you are. Whereas with politics, there is a mechanism for which those opinions actually are forced upon other people. Imagine if what basketball team you supported dictated whether or not somebody got access to health care. Imagine if what music you liked determined whether or not your kids could go to a good school. I'm sure that if that was the case, then you would take people's opinions on those topics much more seriously. I'm sure you would begin to harshly judge other people for their opinion. Do not get me wrong. I, of course, do not advocate for forcing anyone's opinion to be a certain way or to have a certain opinion, as we might get something wrong, or the public sentiment might change, or there might be circumstances where we have to reassess our ideas. But we have to acknowledge that the public spreading of these opinions that affect others have serious consequences. They impact everyone's lives, and we need to acknowledge that. It's not just another opinion. It's not just talking about your favorite color or what things you want to eat for dinner. This affects people. This hurts people. We are now at the point where we have to decide a mechanism for the best way to determine what opinions have more credence than others. We can't simply let the cacophony of human preference deprive people of their freedoms. I don't want you to think I'm proposing a systemic solution to this problem. I don't think we should have the government forcing people a certain way. I am offering, however, a cultural solution to this problem, a way of thinking, a way of discussing this topic, and a way of framing it moving forward. We have to accept that people who have done more research, who have done more reading, who have spent their lives dedicated to these topics, and who know more about certain things than we do, might be closer to the truth than your friend on Facebook. Their opinion might hold more weight or should be taken more seriously than your average Redditor. My solution is we should value opinions based on one's experience and depth of knowledge about the topic. The more experience someone has with the actual substance of this opinion, or the more research they've done into the actual topics surrounding it, that probably gives us reason to take it a little bit more seriously. A doctor that went to a prestigious medical school and has 10 years of experience in the ER probably is a better person to go to about whether you should go to the hospital for a rash than your Uncle Steve who just got finished building his bunker underground. In very much the same way, we should give the scientific community much more weight in determining the vaccine schedule for our children than a concerned mother who works in finance. That's not to say that individuals shouldn't be concerned at all, or that they should be discouraged from asking questions and better understanding why vaccines are safe and should be given to children, but that doesn't mean they should be able to dictate everyone else's children's vaccine schedules, or that their opinion on the matter should be weighted at all the same as doctors in the scientific community. We should never be rolling back vaccines or advocating for being anti-vax. That position is just untenable. We need to hold political opinions to a higher standard. Saying "I don't know" is powerful. people. Being uninformed is not a death sentence. It's an opportunity to educate yourself, as well as give others a chance to actually teach you and educate you on these topics. We should be collectively working together to bring as many people as close to the objective truth as humanly possible. That doesn't mean these people are better than you, or you're worse than they are, or that there's any sort of value judgment to be made about these individuals. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the prescriptions we give to society and the use of political power as a whole to move society forward. We can't just be willy-nilly giving that around to everybody, because humanity shares its ignorance as much as it shares its intelligence. We make up for this ignorance by specializing, by having certain people learn a lot about a specific thing. That way, when we ask a specific question about a specific topic, we can turn to the experts who spent their whole life researching it. And then, when we have a question about something else, we can turn to the other experts. There are no people who just know everything about everything. That just doesn't exist. That's not real. An astrophysicist probably can't tell you what products to use for your hair, and a cosmetologist probably can't predict when the next solar eclipse is going to be. But that doesn't mean either of them are any lesser in any way. They're only dumb in areas outside of their area of expertise, which that's just a fact of knowledge. You can't avoid that. There's no running away from that. Take pride in the fact that you can specialize in a single aspect of human knowledge, and that you can learn a lot about one thing and dedicate your life to it. That you do add a little bit to that well of knowledge that we all share. You are actively contributing. And don't be afraid to be stupid about things that you don't have a good foundation of knowledge to call upon. Accept that others know more than you. I'm reminded of something my choir director would always say during my first 2 years of college. It was something along the lines of, the fastest way to improve is to surround yourself by people who are better than you. By embracing this, I personally have found the feeling of learning something new almost addicting. It's likely that if you're ever the smartest person in the room, you probably should go find another room. With this in mind, the feeling of being dumb or ignorant should be something to be celebrated. It should be something you embrace. It only signifies you have an immense opportunity to learn. So, with all of that said, stupid people are dumb, and that's okay. As always, thank you for your time.